Hey, everyone, welcome to another fantastic episode of the Left Wing Live. Joined, of course, by John Cooper. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing good, TJ. I just read a headline that said supply chain terror. Explosions in Lebanon raise new security alarms.
Ooh,
What a disingenuous fucking headline that is.
yikes,
That sounds
yikes.
like Home Depot is having some security issues. Like,
Oh my
Jesus
God.
Christ.
Yeah, that's oh Jesus, that is that's like, I don't know. It's bad. We joke about headlines like that, 14-year-old black teenager killed in police involved altercation or something. That's 1,000 times worse. Supply chain issues. Oh God, yeah. I actually don't know a whole lot about this, and so from what I could gather, I haven't read deep into it, but Israel targeted like beepers from people in Lebanon.
Yeah, that's what the story is about. Like,
Mhm.
that's I imagine that's what that story is
Well,
about. Yeah.
but I don't know
No,
like all the details in the story though.
so I haven't like gone deep into it. From what I understand, there was some sort of counter-terror measure
Mhm.
where they had planted explosive devices in pagers that they tried to distribute to Hezbollah members. But like there's so many of them.
Yeah, and
And
it
they're
killed a bunch
just
of.
exploding indiscriminately now.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people talking about that. They feel like if you just reversed it, if Lebanon did that to Israelis or
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah, it's like it'd be international incident.
It's like that is a terror move.
It is. It is.
That's not like you don't associate exploding personal devices with military action. That is a one maybe. If it was one and there was a targeted thing, I'd get it. That's like a spy assassination. But like hundreds, like
Yeah,
that's something the Joker would do.
it is. Yeah, it's kind of. When we would talk about the Destructo Juco is just joining us.
Okay, I made it.
I'll tell you what's going on, man. Yeah, man, you got here you're pretty much right on time. Good to see you, man.
Oh, thank God. I thought I was late. Good to see you guys.
So we start the show at 6:35. Maybe yeah. So well, we were just talking about. I don't know if you heard the incident with the Israelis attacking the pagers in Lebanon that they distributed to.
Okay,
Hezbollah.
so
Yeah.
I need a little bit of context on that because I've had bits and pieces on Twitter
Same,
about like
same, honestly.
pagers. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. So John, you know more about it than I did.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, this is like something I was just this is not like a huge insight from me here, but essentially that there was a plot to distribute these pagers that had IEDs inside them to members of Hezbollah. And then what Israel told the US is that because like the US didn't know about this attack until like moments before it happened. And what they told the US was, hey, we think Hezbollah is onto us. This seems like a use it or lose it scenario. And they decided to use it, which, like,
of course they were going to use it. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
What is this?
But then also the fact that there were more explosions today makes it seem like it wasn't a use it or lose it scenario.
Wow.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
not that it often does.
True.
This is a particularly confusing one.
Well, and the fact that it's an attack that has collateral damage built into the equation. There's no way you can do this without harming innocent people. Because I saw a lot of people like, well, if you don't want to be exploded by the IDF, maybe don't be a terrorist. Like, okay, fine, but the people like who were around them, they didn't ask for that either. But I suspect they don't care about that either. That's just my guess from what I've seen in the past. Yeah,
I used to be on the side of they don't care, and honestly, I think if there's anything I've learned from this with like coming into a full year is that it's not even that they don't care; it's that like the more innocent civilians lost, like the better. And I know that's a really cynical sort of stance to take on this, but like I believe wholeheartedly like that's what Israel's about. Like if any innocence, because the way the Israelis talk about the death of innocents on Twitter as if like everyone is like a celebration of the power of Israel, you know what I mean, is honestly heartbreaking and terrifying. And so yeah, I mean they created IUDs knowing damn well that it would hurt innocent civilians, and like if it did, score. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wasn't even referencing the Israeli military or anything, the government. I was just talking about people that you see talking about this, like Americans. They celebrate it too. It really, like, it's got to that. I mean, it's been like this for a while, but it's true. Like the humanity of mainly the Palestinians is just disregarded, like offhand. So like, how many times have you heard them say, yeah, well, if they didn't want to die, they shouldn't, that 9-year-old shouldn't have elected Hamas to lead. The 9-year-old in the West Bank shouldn't have elected Hamas in Gaza, then they'd be alive. It's just kind of
that logic, TJ.
I know, right?
That 9-year-old had it coming.
Where are you supposed to go? All right. Speaking of people who may or may not have had it coming, let's talk about President Donald J. Trump. Let's dovetail right into this guy right here. So, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there was a second hilariously inept attempted assassination attempt on Donald Trump last week. And what I wanted to talk about real quick is I was thinking about what happened, and I gotta tell you, we talk about how this is a nation in decline. Our business interests in decline, families are in decline. Presidential assassinations are in decline. Like, people who the people who try to assassinate the president have been lower and lower in quality as time's gone on. And I was thinking, so in 1865, you have John Wilkes Booth, who was a famous, successful actor. Like if Kiefer Sutherland decided to assassinate the president, essentially what happened. And then you had James Garfield was shot by Charles Guiteau, and Charles Guiteau wasn't some national success story. He was a political hack, and he was mad that he didn't get a job offer when Garfield became president. And then there's the assassination attempt that no one ever talks about. Well, that would be Garfield, but the other one no one ever talks about is President William McKinley in, I think, 1901. And he was assassinated by a guy named, I think, Richard Czolgosz was his name. And and this guy was the son of Polish immigrants, and he got the wild idea that the United States government had been taken over by business interests, and that these business interests had bought and paid all the politicians running the country. And he got radicalized when he was laid off from his job at a steel mill, I think. And although he was a trained craftsman or a trained employee in this field, he couldn't find work anywhere for years. And he started noticing this trend that this was happening to everyone he knew. And people who did worked like 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And life was the Gilded Age. Life was getting worse. And he saw McKinley as the head of the snake, so he shot him. And I think there's a reason we don't talk much about Richard Czolgosz. Just saying. I don't think it's a coincidence that we don't talk about this guy very much. And then the next one after that, you have Lee Harvey Oswald, who, yes, Oswald was a weird loser. Like, let's not get that confusing. But he was a weird loser. He got the job done. Yeah, he accomplished his task. You can't take that from him. And then you had the attempt by Hinckley, also a weird loser, didn't get the job done. And then you got these two with Trump. What are their names? Ralph, what was the other guy's name? Crooks. Thomas Matthew Crooks. Equally weird losers. So what are you guys' thoughts on this? I just want to know what do you think when you read about it? We'll go to you first, Ate.
This is gonna sound so insensitive.
Let's go.
But I miss the days. God damn it! I miss the days when, you know what I'm saying, like when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Can you imagine how that would have played out today? Like, your ops just like walking you down at the middle of the movie theater, just like fucking 2 feet away from you and just letting it go.
Yeah.
That's a real assassination. That's a real life.
Yes.
Like, it reminds me of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Like, bro was eating a sandwich and pulled up, saw him right there and said, "Oh, bet." And you know what I'm saying, locked in. And I'm so confused in a world where our guns are like a million times more powerful than they were at the time. Like, you don't gotta like put a gunpowder in the musket and fucking toss the ball in there. 2 whole presidential assassinations and assassination attempts on Trump's life, and not a single one even like really even injuring him. And I don't mean to like get in there and you know, skirt the line of like getting on national television and being like for assassinations, but I do find it really kind of interesting that at least for the first one, it seemed to me that there was a really like clear line of like, it was if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like he had a kind of a clear shot, right? Like bro was standing on the podium. How far away was he? Like 300, 400 yards?
150 yards.
That's
which
nothing.
It's nothing. It's an easy shot. Easy shot. Yeah.
And so I guess I can only respond to that by questioning like whether or not that is something that where the person who did it actually is just that awful of a shot in real life, which if he is, why would you even try to assassinate
well, the thing is, he literally, like, the funny thing is he was kicked out of his high school riflery club for just being so bad.
Really?
Like, he legitimately, this is a thing about that. He's a fucking stormtrooper in real life.
He's a stormtrooper.
That adds so much working. Oh, that makes it so much funnier. So he knew there was like a 10% chance in real life that he hits on target.
That he was the worst shot in the state of Pennsylvania, and he's like, I can pull this off. I'm sure I can do this. This is why. Like, everything about both these guys is just absolutely crazy. Like, well, John, I think you know address this one if you'd like. But what I also find funny about them is that once this happens, everyone thinks, okay, what kind of person is this? Is this going to be some, wild radical leftist, like some communist finally decided to do something, unlike usual. And
it never is, by the way. It never is.
It's and then you look at it, and their political beliefs are inscrutable as hell. They make no sense at all. So yeah, what do you think, John?
Yeah, like the firebomb a Walmart crew is just like getting put out to dry here.
Oh my God.
It's just like these two random people are doing the thing that you claim you should do, but you never will. Which you shouldn't do. It's really
right. You should not do it. Yes, thank you, John.
Let me be very clear. You should not try and assassinate anyone ever. Yeah. I guess maybe not anyone ever. I'm sure maybe a couple dudes had it coming.
We gotta quit. We're ahead. We'll quit. We're ahead.
But in general,
he's like, dude,
John walking back his assassination stuff. Don't denial.
The thing is, like, you're kind of alluding to this, where it's like, yeah, these guys are crazy. They're crazy people. Like, if you go out and try and do this, there's something messed up about you, And I am someone who is on the fucking, I don't know, bandwagon is the right word. Like, Trump is a fascist. Trump, if successful in all of his wants and desires, will end democracy. There is legitimate fear of that. And what I hear from Republicans over and over again, both times that this has happened, is, oh, well, the Democrats are spreading this fear and propaganda that's leading to these assassination attempts. And it's like, that might have some merit if it wasn't divorced from the reality that these two people were crazy people. Like, if these people had a manifesto and they said that, then like maybe you could make that argument, but they don't. Like, that's not what happened. And B, that doesn't mean it's not true. Like, they seem to be saying you can't call Trump a threat to democracy because it will lead to assassination attempts, even if he is a threat to democracy, which makes like they're trying to play it both ways, and it just doesn't have any logical consistency, because they're acting as if we didn't just watch him on the debate stage say, nah, I didn't lose the 2020 election. It was stolen from me. I'm continuing to do this. Yeah, when you do that, when you choose to deny the results of a democratic election beyond all evidence against you, yeah, you're a threat to democracy. And calling you that isn't instigating violence.
Yeah, it's I think that's one of the things that makes it so difficult to conversate about the assassination attempts of Donald Trump as leftists, is because, like, realistically, if Trump were like die today by any means, like, heart attack or whatever the case, like, none of us is I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting on Twitter and I'm smoking Trump pack like immediately. But in this instance of like political violence, and still wanting to be on the side of this is a very, very dangerous human being that, like, all jokes aside, if we're to be elected, would result in a lot of material consequences for a lot of people, namely the most vulnerable people in our society, minorities, disabled people, XYZ. And that is like, so he like poses a genuine threat to the safety of millions of people nationwide and worldwide. and still like holding space for that while at the same time trying to skirt the line of like not being okay with political violence is really, really difficult because when the Republicans say, oh, you guys did this, you guys start this, on some level, right, those guys, the people that did it are crazy. And ideally, when a fascist person wants to rise to power in a situation like this, the ideal thing to do would for him to be like laughed out of the halls of Congress entirely. But that just isn't the reality. And the reality is that like he is supported by damn near half the country. And the contradiction that they run into when they talk about oh, Democrats did this, they're the ones that are responsible for this, is that I saw pictures from a Trump rally where somebody had painted was it Joe Biden or Kamala like tied up in the back of a van. And the things that they'll say, have you guys been on Truth Socials? Unhinged. The most unhinged like social media space ever.
I've been on Twitter and it's
Twitter's bad enough.
Already bad enough on Twitter. They're the party of people that are actually outright saying. I saw a tweet today of somebody that actually had the FBI like walk up on them because they had said something about Kamala being assassinated or something on the lines of like wanting Kamala to be assassinated, right? So the Republicans and the Republicans specifically and the conservatives and a lot of the right wingers are really the ones that are pushing most for violence in like the most explicit terms, but then we'll turn around and like try to use like the concept of no violence in politics as a means of like defending Trump and lambasting Democrats whenever he gets assassination attempts, which honestly makes it seem to me that at least on some level, right, it is working. Trump's repeated assassination attempts are working for them politically, because he's never actually gets hurt in any of these, and I don't think he's ever in any real danger except for the very first one. I don't think he was in any real danger in this second one, but what it is it provided a really, really good political tool to wield against anybody that was saying that Trump is actually a threat to democracy.
Well,
he would have been in danger in the first one if the guy was trying to assassinate someone else.
Yeah, true. If he was aiming somewhere else, yeah, he would have.
He just moved like 2 feet to the left.
Exactly. Yeah, you're some Kentucky windage and just trying to aim right off the center. So I think Trump isn't in any danger because, as we've established, that God Almighty has a hedge of protection around Donald Trump. God loves evil and he loves seeing the suffering of his creation. So he's all for it. Also, I think it's important that Trump doesn't, because you're right, there is this weird dissonance between Trump is a major threat to democracy. He's going to destroy the United States. He's going to hasten about the destruction of planet Earth. But boy, am I glad to see you alive. Like, that's a weird thing to say. Like, that's an odd sentence. However, I will defend it because I need Trump to be alive at least until the first week of November. After that, I don't care because although, man, I don't know how it would work. Like, there's no guarantee they'd make Vance the nominee, but I think Vance is the only person.
TJ, I'm sorry. If Donald Trump were to die in an assassination, the Democrats would agree to hold a special election next year.
You're right.
There's no way. There's no way. The Republicans were like, no, fuck you. We're going through with this.
Yeah.
The Democrats were like, oh, no, it's only fair.
It's only fair. Give them a year to find a strong candidate. And then, that would suck. But, oh, God, that's kind of depressing.
But I don't think there would be a strong. And this is the thing. This is why I'm so happy that Trump is so fucking old, because I don't see any Republican or any conservative with his ability to inspire the masses. Like, nobody's got his sauce. I'm sorry, there's only one Trump.
So we've talked about this plenty of times that we can't wait to see where the party goes after Trump, because there cannot be another Trump. All these clowns are trying to replicate Trump. You can't do it. Trump is such a uniquely specified person for creating a cult of old bigots. And it's like, they're gonna huddle around JD Vance or Ron DeSantis. No, that's just never gonna happen. Yeah, they're losers, and they're copying. They're not blazing their own path forward. So what I would be more worried about is if, like, you know how George W. Bush, he had this renaissance, like, oh, he was actually a good guy. They're going to do this with like Nikki Haley or something. And then a bunch of regular people like, oh, she doesn't seem so bad. And then we get, you know, mainly the same policies without the cult, sure. But I can easily foresee someone filling that old Republican lane, but they will lose the people Trump brought in, like the people who weren't all really political, but they just love that figure, so they'll lose a big chunk. Yeah. Those folks are going to be gone. And John, you were talking about how, you know, the firebomb the Walmart crew isn't doing this, but it's the right-wing gun nuts, and I do love that they're sucking it at the one thing that they brag about all the time, about how they love their firearms and they want to take down a tyrannical government, and they're 0 for 2 so far. You know, good job guys on that one. I don't know. And Ata, you were talking about the guy who got the visit from the FBI. That was the head of the New Hampshire Libertarian Party. And so he posted a tweet. Yeah, he posted a tweet.
That insane Twitter account. That utterly
insane. Yeah,
even for libertarians,
yes,
this is the most insane Twitter account.
Even by libertarian standards.
Look, man, like the worst right-wing views you can imagine. Like, you know, it should be legal to marry children. Women shouldn't vote. I honestly, whatever you can think of, this guy has said it. And like last week, he said something like, but he said that he like put a bounty on Kamala Harris or something like that. I can't remember, but he's like, oh no, he said whoever takes out Harris would be an American hero. That's what he said. And the FBI. Yeah, and the FBI came and visited him. And you know what I hated about that video of him recording the FBI? He actually made some good points. I fucking hated it. The guy comes up and he's like, oh, we're here with the FBI. He goes, well, what's your name? He's like, you know, I'm Agent Jackson. He goes, all right, well, you got any ID on you? So here's my badge. He goes, well, I need to see some credentials. If I'm going to talk to a federal representative of the state, I'm going to need to see. I was like, God, it's a good point. It's a good point. I fucking hated it. But yeah, that was some wild shit. And
what pissed me off the most about that is that they bucked down. I was like, I thought the FBI was supposed to be scary.
You know what? Pussy. They didn't. Yeah, you're right. They kind of just like, okay. And that one guy didn't even give his name. He's like, "What? I want my name broadcast." It's like, you're operating, you know, under the auspices of the state. You have to give your name. What are you talking about? I didn't get that at all. But with Ralph, I just wanted to show. I'm not gonna play the video, I don't think, but. Does this look a crazy guy to you? Like, this guy looks pretty sane, right? Like, this is a dude that you can trust hanging around your golf course. You know, that's some wild stuff.
He looks a little different. I'm not gonna lie.
He looks. I wanted to talk about. So this guy, he was very active, like a pro-Ukrainian activist. Did you guys see anything about that?
Yeah, and he went there.
Go ahead, John.
He like recruited people to go over there and fight in Ukraine. Like it's like, I don't know if this guy is any good at it, but like you'd think he'd be better shooting a sitting duck on a golf course if he's going over there and actually helping him fight.
Okay, so I actually need like the story explained to me, because after the first assassination, I heard about the second one and I was like, honestly, don't care if Trump didn't die, whatever. So what was the?
All right. That's so great too, because like you knew it was going to happen when you heard about it. You're like, oh, if they didn't give a fuck about the first one, they sure as hell are not going to care. But nobody cares or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is what we know about Mr. Routh. So let's see. I'll pull it up right here. Yeah. Oh, so he wasn't armed when they found. All right, here we go. This is go down too far. So he was a white male who authorities believed to be the suspect, who was crouched in the bushes near the golf club perimeter, armed with a weapon equipped with a scope. 2 backpacks and a GoPro camera were also found with a firearm near the perimeter from which the suspect had fled. Local authorities said the gunman was 400 to 500 yards away from the president at the time. So, like, he never had Trump in his line of sight. And he was, I guess he just assumed Trump would be. I saw a lot of people saying, well, how did he know that Donald Trump was going to be golfing on a Sunday? It's like, I don't know if you need to be a detective to figure that one out. I would just guess. Seems like something Trump would do, right? And these are the bags that he had on the fence that he was waiting for. And they're the weapon right there too. I don't know if you guys can see it right there. That's the weapon. And it was poked through the fence like a goddamn cartoon or something. He had it raised up there, just waiting like that. And so, John, you were talking about him. He didn't actually fight overseas. He went over to Ukraine to recruit people, but he wasn't like enlisted in the military. He was like a cheerleader, you know. And where do I have right here that he wasn't armed? Oh, there. I love this. This guy, this guy is fantastic. He's so great. And he wrote a book. So where did I find right here? He made, it's the 2020. He made posts directed at Donald Trump telling him to, stop the war in Ukraine. All right, the New York Times said it interviewed him for a feature on pro-Ukrainian foreign fighters last year. The Times said Ralph traveled to Ukraine in 2022 to recruit ex-Afghan soldiers who fled the Taliban to fight for the embattled nation. All right, I want to pause there too. Like, you imagine fleeing the Taliban and it's like, hey man, why don't you come fight in Ukraine? She was no. What? I feel those people.
What a flee! Did you not understand?
Right? Yeah, just one war right into another. And neighbors in Hawaii said that he would spend months at a time in the country in 2022. In 2023, Ralph self-published a book titled "Ukraine's Unwinnable War," where he first introduced the notion of a Trump assassination. So the guy had talked about killing the president before, which I found pretty funny. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, I've got to find out what he said. Like, what do they mean? You can't just say that. You got to let me know in what ways did he advocate for the assassination of Trump? And here's the statement right here.
Oh, yes.
He says, in a book published in 2023 about the war, well, they misspell a type of the war in Ukraine, Ralph claimed that readers were free to assassinate Trump. No one here in the U.S. seems to have the balls to put natural selection to work, or even unnatural selection, he wrote. And so, following the second assassination of Trump in 64 days, 58-year-old Ralph is now in custody. The Secret Service agents from Trump's protective detail saw him holding a rifle on a chain link fence and Trump International Golf Course. So not exactly a surprise suspect. And this makes me wonder. So, John, we did a whole thing talking about how the first attempt, like all these people spreading conspiracies that Trump set this up and this is wild and everything. I don't think this one was a conspiracy either. But it looks a hell of a lot more like one than the other one. That this is the most, feeble attempt I've ever seen. A guy who's on the radar for the New York Times already, multiple arrests, been to foreign countries. Like, the government is watching this guy. You're flying back and forth to Ukraine for the United States. Yeah. It just seems like something that I'm not saying he's a Fed. I'm not saying that. But, right. John, what do you think? Like on your radar
in terms
here?
Of I think that this is legitimate. Again, just a crazy person doing crazy things. But there's a lot more.
A lot more smoke here.
A lot more smoke here because in the first one, the thing that I was like, it's not fucking fake, guys. Is a dude died. Like a random civilian died, and like I don't think Trump would actually literally kill one of his and you know what? As much as I do that, I don't think he'd put himself in that close to danger of death.
It is. Yeah. Those bullets are right
even
by
if you don't believe that. So like I don't, but this one, he didn't shoot.
Nope.
There were gunshots fired, but none of them hit him.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Secret Service were the one that fired the gunshots, and they didn't hit him. After the incompetency of the first assassination attempt, you would think that like either they're going to remain incompetent or they're going to make sure they kill the motherfucker.
Yeah.
And neither of those things happened. He just kind of gets away and is in custody of the Secret Service. Again, I don't think it's a conspiracy, but you have a lot more smoke on this one. And I do think it's a little funny how, like, no one who isn't a Republican is even talking about it.
Nope.
It is odd how it's just like no one's even acknowledging it. Like everyone released their statements, and like Republicans are trying to keep it in the news cycle to take heat off of the fucking immigrants eating cats and dogs thing. But like it's just not working, and like they're like little children throwing a tantrum. Because I think everyone understands. Like I think even them in their heart of hearts understands that when you do what Donald Trump does, it invokes crazy people to take shots at you. like you can't, like you were kind of mentioning out there, like he has straight up in front of national television said, I'm going to commit political violence against millions of people in this country. 100%. I am willing to lie about them being illegal immigrants, and I'm going to deport them. That is what he said about these specific immigrants in Ohio who are legal residents of the United States. And when he was asked directly, point blank, what does this look like? Is it going to be agents going door to door and deporting people, he refused to answer the question. It's very clear that he intends to commit violence on millions of people. It's not unfair to say, yeah, bro, sometimes that's going to make people shoot at you.
What's concerning to me in that is that and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've read that both of the would-be assassinators were registered Republicans, were they not?
The first one was. The second one, I haven't heard anything about their registration. I heard that they originally supported Trump in 2016. They switched eventually to become like Haley Vivek voters and were supportive of Kamala Biden in opposition to Trump.
Yeah, he voted for Trump in 2016. I think he voted for Biden in 2020, and he registered for the Democrats to vote in the primary. And the last statement he made about who he supported, he wanted a Haley Ramaswamy ticket. I think he supported Beto O'Rourke at one time. Guys just all over the place. Yeah, it's just
throwing darts.
Exactly. So it's the Republicans want so bad for him to be like this, true blue voter. And once again, crazy person. That's why it doesn't stick. And they keep trying to say they are after Trump. It's like the insane people. Okay. Yeah. All right. I get it. But yeah. So that's the best way to describe it. It's just inscrutable.
I find it so funny that he was a Vivek and Nikki Haley. Because if there are any two candidates, I was always a trillion, quadrillion % sure we're never getting anywhere close to the presidency. It was Vivek and Nikki Haley. I don't know where this delusion came from within POC, people of color, Republicans running for office for really high positions, that they were exempt from the very obvious, very unscrupulous, very sort of face forward racism of their party. I've seen some of the things that some people would say to Vivek Ramaswamy when he
my God. We're well aware.
Why did he think he had a chance? Oh,
yeah. He would go to it was in Ohio or Iowa, I think. And they were talking about, what are some things that might prevent you from voting for me? It's like, well, your skin color is one thing, man. That to his face, to his face. You're like, oh, buddy, that is just that is
and
cold.
He would nod and be like, yeah, I totally respect your right to say that. And you know what I mean? That's how they are.
Or the Ann Coulter interview he did. Do you remember the guys? Yeah, it's it's some rough shit. So I don't know. It's just been fun to watch with all this. I can't wait to see how this all turns out. But I just love the fact that they are just immersing themselves in trying to guilt people. I just saw Trump he was talking to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and she brought up you've been shot for this country, and it's no one cares, no one gives a fuck, man. It is wild. To the extent that I think more people than should actually believe Trump set up the first one. That's how little they care. They think you're bullshitting. So I don't know.
I'll be honest, that's the most surprising thing to have come out of all of this, is seeing just how little people cared. Because I remember when it happened, dude, I thought this was it for democracy. I'm thinking, okay, this is the Reagan effect. He's gonna go in there and he's gonna come out and he's gonna win by a fucking landslide. Or at the very least, if he doesn't win by a landslide, this would be one of the most important moments in modern political history. No, nothing.
Yeah,
it'll be like a page in a book. Just the Trump assassination attempts of 2024. It'll just be 2-3 paragraphs, and then that'll be that. That's crazy to me. I thought it'd be way bigger.
He is the least cool attempted murderers too. The guys, there's nothing cool about them at all.
Nothing
and so that's some wild shit right there. Any closing thoughts from you, John?
Nah, that's pretty much it. I guess what's the over under
for what?
There being another one.
Oh, I mean, what?
It actually, I think that after the first one, it's I would have bet it's not going to happen again. Now that there's been two, it's open season, copycats. It's a real concern at this point.
Yeah.
So, John, you were saying how Trump says these wild things and crazy people are going to respond to it, and I started thinking about that. A lot of times, I think we're shy. So when I'm driving to work, I think about how human beings evolved to hide from lions and pick berries and eat shrubs in the African savannah. It is impressive as hell that we can operate motor vehicles. When you think about that, like how we were in no way designed to ever move even 40 miles per hour. But we can easily, navigate these 2,000-pound machines at 70, 80, 90 miles. Like your average person can do that without an issue. And so knowing that, it's shocking to me that there aren't more traffic accidents than there are. Like you would think you'd see one every day. And what you're talking about with Trump, with the amount of guns and the amount of insane people in this nation, it's wild there aren't more political assassinations. It really is kind of impressive that there aren't. That as easy as it is, like you don't need to be close to do it. You can be 400 yards away, like further away. And if you're a decent shot, we're getting a weird territory here, but I'm just saying, like, hey, if you and all right. I just also real quick. So this isn't a political assassination one, but I went to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. And if any of you haven't been there, the Smithsonian isn't one building. It's like 3 or 4 different museums they have there. So when I went there, there was this metal detector that you had to walk through when you went to the front door. And so everyone's lined up, so to make sure there's no weapons and everything. But what that caused was this line of like 80 people long outside of every museum. And I thought, well, if you had a weapon now, who cares? Like you can just mow down everyone in these lines. They're sitting ducks. And so I think about that and how easy it would be to not just go after regular people, but high target people. You have 5 or 6 people who have a goal of taking out one person, no matter how important. You can do it. Yeah. So it's actually amazing we don't have more of that. I think it shows a lot of restraint on the part of 300 million of us out there.
I think that's I think to your point about how we've seen already too from President Trump or ex-President Trump this year, and like in the vein of when the first sort of major school shootings happened in Columbine, and that was like this huge thing, and then more happened, and then there was Sandy Hook a bunch of years after that, which I think really opened the floodgates for like what we would see in our modern day of like how school shootings go. Is that people started realizing how fucking easy it is.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I'm afraid of now is this with this Trump situation, people might just start realizing how actually it's dead ass easy to if I hate this politician, can I just what I mean? Like pull up to the rally and let it pop out. That's what I think is possible.
That's what, like, the first one, this one seems to definitely, like, the second one is definitely politically motivated. Like, I don't like what Trump stands for. Apparently, this guy really gives a shit about Ukraine. Like, it's pretty clear there's a political motivation. The first one, I don't think had any political motivation. I think it was suicide by cop at the highest level. And, like, I am surprised that doesn't happen more. Because it's like a lot of those school shooters, it's just like suicide by cop, but, like, going out bigger. And it's like, well, why kill a bunch of kids?
You're right.
When you can like be remembered forever.
Right.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more. And I guess the one good thing we have in terms of just like these people are crazy. So they're not going to act rationally. If they were acting rationally, they wouldn't be doing this. So like you can't like apply rational decision making to this. But if you did, like that's what they would do.
Yeah, it's just fortunate the president isn't in town with one of those guys every day, essentially. And so, it's just kind of random. But, I hate to think about that, but it's not looking good. We'll get on to lighter topics here, folks. So we'll go ahead and cut it. So I wanted to pull this up earlier. We have Pop the Cult Gaming and Lifestyle Incorporated. Big fan of Destructo Jugo. So, glad to see that. Yeah.
Thanks, Pop the Call, man. I really appreciate it.
And we had Clint Boggs said, freaking communist Democrats can't keep their paws off my wallet.
There's no way this is a real guy. That's a satire. Like, there's no way there's a real guy with that AVI, with the sunglasses and the beard and the pickup truck, and called Clint freaking Boggs, who just randomly comments on a YouTube video, freaking communist Democrats can't keep their paws off my wallet. That is an onion character. That person is not real.
That's a bot. It's a bot. It's 100%. And it's so scary to see how many bots are on social media nowadays.
Man, when you said that, my eyes lit up. it is staggering how many bots you see in your comment sections. Like if something just like wild over the top, I was like, let me see. I got about a 70% hit rate that's a bot, and you see it. Oh, yeah. So that follows 10,000 people, no username, no image. It's
that's the thing. That's not a bot though, because you wouldn't make a bot so obviously you know what I mean? Like that. It's not a bot.
Oh no, I think it's definitely a bot. I think those are definitely
bots.
Do you imagine
Why
a
would you
human
make a
being
conservative bot that looks so much like a conservative? You know what I mean?
You mean him? Oh, this guy?
Yeah, this guy.
I thought you meant like the 10,000 followers.
Oh no, that guy's a bot. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. What were you gonna say?
I don't know. These bots are dumb as shit, and that's
really what it is. They're dumb. Like their comments are so stupid and dumber than you would expect. Because we converse with conservatives a while, you kind of know how they fall. But when it's too over the top, and too talking pointsy, it's like, okay, I see what's going on here. But yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about this. This isn't a topic we plan to cover, but I am. God, is this fascist of me here? Is like I don't like the fact that you can be anonymous on social media. I don't like it at all. I just think it poisons the. Then again, I guess if you have your own personal product, you can do whatever you want. But I don't think anyone's experience is made better by either anonymous people or bots flooding your content. I just don't. I would much rather people, if your name and your face is out there, you're going to watch what you say a lot more. And sure, I guess you could say that could be used to threaten good people, whatever. I guess, but I tell you, I do it every fucking day. Everything I say, I will gladly put my name to. And so if I'm afraid of saying something, there's a good reason probably. I mean, maybe a couple things that I'm afraid to say that I should be able to, but I don't know how you guys feel about that. What do you think?
I think from the perspective of a content creator, as a content creator as well, I agree half-heartedly.
Yeah.
And see how you got to that conclusion. But I think my only cause for concern in the concept and the idea of non-anonymity on social media is like some people get on social media in ways that maybe you are in an abusive relationship and your spouse or parent or whatever the case may be doesn't is not is not approving, or is like it's dangerous for you to have your face, or even thinking of in the context of queer kids, right? LGBT kids who look for spaces to connect with each other online, away from their parents and away from other adults in their life that are not approving of their identities, right? That's the only drawback I can think of. But other than that, I'd be so right when I see comments in my comment section, and it's a disrespectful ass, dickhead, racist ass comment.
Yes.
And I look and I'm like, you ain't even got your name on there. You think you slick. You think you just get to say these things. It boils my blood. And it really does make me think you should not be allowed to be anonymous on here if you're going to say shit like that. Because at the very least, stand on it, right? Because us content creators, we don't have the luxury of not being seen. We put our faces out on the internet, so everything we say, regardless of whether we want to, we're gonna have to stand on it, because it always be traced back to us. And the layman, the average person, doesn't have that, and they should. But I don't think they can have, you can't have both. You can't have a society where everybody is not allowed to be anonymous on social media without it having some serious consequences in ways that you wouldn't think of.
I actually would love to see someone try, and it sounds like something that people must have tried already, but a verified only social media platform,
like a dating website or something. That's what they do. They verify.
That would be I would use that.
I would too.
I don't think it should be the only thing. I think you should have.
I shouldn't be a law. No, I was like,
but there should be a platform where you must be verified. I think that people would like using it. I don't know. A lot of people like hiding behind their fucking screen.
They do. So. That's the thing. They do, because I think you're right. It probably had to have been tried before, but it does limit the size of your platform, which they're not going to want to do. But I don't know. People who disagree with me shouldn't be anonymous. I'll put it that way. If you disagree with me on any issue, you lose your anonymity. That's kind of how I would look at it. And Kyle says apparently, yes, this is illegal internet. Oh, we're talking about the Israeli thing, not this is illegal under international law. Planting bombs of civilian objects and or locations is illegal. When has that stopped Israel? They don't seem to follow their own laws. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk for hours about the whole this is internationally illegal.
I know, like fuck off, like it matters to anybody. Yeah,
it's kind of gotten a dead. We've hit a dead end by now.
They've just started saying that, by the way. When I get like into back and forth with people, they'll just straight up say, "Yeah, no, America shouldn't follow international law." Or Israel shouldn't follow international law. It's like, bro, what's the point of international law? Like, why? Like, they legitimately believe America should be above international. It's like when I see like, oh, America never follows it, and I'm like, that's inherently wrong. And I feel like everyone should agree with that. And fuck no, they don't. They think we should be above it.
Yeah,
that's been the case
John,
for a while now.
John, that reminds me. You had mentioned how Donald Trump would say, well, we're going to keep calling them illegal immigrants anyway. I saw this clip from JD Vance. This is the one I was going to bring up at the beginning of the show, and I thought Ate was going to be a little bit behind. But it's like a 2-minute clip of JD Vance being asked about the Haitian immigrants because they keep calling them illegal when they very obviously are not. So I wanted to share that with you guys here. See what James Donald Vance has to say.
What's his name?
I don't know.
Hi, Senator. Mia McCarthy with Politico. Question for you about the Haitian migrants in Springfield. So I know you've talked a lot about how we need to deport illegal aliens, but I wanted to ask you, the majority of the Haitians in Springfield came under TPS, so they are here legally. And I know you've expressed a lot of your issues with the TPS program and wanting to change that under a Trump-Vance administration. But I guess my question for you is, if you become the vice president under a Trump administration, what will you guys do about the migrants that are already there, since they did arrive legally? And a follow-up to that, if you plan to deport them, how would you do that legally?
Well, look, this is a media and Kamala Harris fact check that I want to clarify and clear up right now. And here's now, the media loves to say that the Haitian migrants, hundreds of thousands of them, by the way, 20,000 in Springfield, but hundreds of thousands of them all across our country, they are here legally. And what they mean is that Kamala Harris used 2 separate programs, mass parole and temporary protective status. She used 2 programs to wave a wand and to say, we're not going to deport those people here. Well, if Kamala Harris waves the wand illegally and says these people are now here legally, I'm still going to call them an illegal alien. An illegal action from Kamala Harris does not make an alien legal. That is not how this works.
So I want to interject right here that is exactly how this works. JD Vance, like literally by the book, like temporary protective status.
Legality works.
yeah. Like temporary protective status wasn't just something conjured up by Kamala Harris, a few years ago, specifically to apply to Haitian immigrants. We use it all the time for people that are generally seeking asylum, and it's like the lowest rung, by the way, like of legal immigration. Like there's a whole lot more higher categories that offer more benefits and stuff. And he's like, yeah, they're legal, but I'm gonna keep calling them illegal. Yeah, this is like they just don't give a shit.
Go ahead, Ate.
I'm always I'm always at a constant like teeter-tottering between like, haha, this is comically funny, and this is genuinely terrifying. Like when we're speaking about Republican politicians in today's age, because to get on a national stage, dude, and to be like, bro, I don't give a fuck if they're legal immigrants. Dude, they're fucking aliens. It's crazy. And to like have roaring applause, right? And I don't know if this is me just like being nostalgic about a time that I wasn't even born in, but I would like to have believed that there was a point in US politics where a Republican would say something like that and that would like generally not be seen as like even remotely an okay thing to say. Like the thing with John McCain, where the person goes up and is like, I don't trust Obama because he's a Muslim, and he's like, Obama's a cool guy, relax, right? That was a time in which it was a lot less scary for the state of democracy than we are in now, where we can see this moment play out and we get here and we laugh, oh, JD Vance is so stupid, but he's literally saying that to his audience of I don't know how many thousands and I don't know how many hundreds of thousands watching the screen. It does not matter if these, black and brown people came here legally. It does not matter if they are, their status technically, they are dirty, they are stinky, and they are not welcome. And that is something that is going to result in a lot of real world violence. And that is scary to think about. Like on top of it being like comically stupid, it's also like, damn, if I was Haitian right now, I'd be very scared of the rhetoric being spewed day in and day out.
I hate it. It might be recency bias, guys. It might be recency bias, but genuinely, the feelings of disgust about this particular action of Donald Trump has been worse than anything Donald Trump has ever done in my mind. Like the going and just saying, yeah, we're going to admit that we are lying about this community of like essentially asylum seekers who legally entered this country, who also drastically improved the GDP of a town that was previously dying because of the opioid epidemic. And we're going to say we're going to deport them anyway and call them illegal aliens. We're going to say this with a straight face. It's like, it's disgusting. Like, it's terrible. Every single goddamn Republican, whoever was in my mention saying, no, it's just the illegal immigrants. Where the fuck are you to call this shit out? Because if you're not calling this shit out, it wasn't just the illegal immigrants. Because you're even the fucking moral argument that they make is like, oh, well, if they were good, upstanding people, they would have followed the laws and come here. It's like they did. These people did that. Yep. You might argue that those laws were unjust, that Kamala Harris shouldn't, or fuck, it's not Kamala Harris. It was Joe Biden. Fuck you, JD Vance. I can't believe I just went But you might believe that like the Biden administration shouldn't have let them in legally, but they did. These immigrants immigrated legally. There is no doubt about that. So you cannot make this moral argument. These are criminals who came into this country and broke our law. No, they did not. They did not do that. It's just a falsification of reality. And no one is calling them and that's the other problem. The Democrats aren't. If Kamala Harris ain't going to fucking Springfield and standing with the Haitians now, is she? Because she's goddamn terrified of immigration. Because Biden has been just as fucking bad as any Republican president in our lifetimes when it comes to immigration, and they're terrified of it, and they won't do the right thing. So it just keeps getting worse. We're watching the slippery slope to ethnic cleansing happen before our eyes, and no one is saying, "Hey, maybe we should stop this."
Yeah, it is like going back to what we were talking about with Israel and how comfortable people seem to be with civilian casualties. It turns out people were bullshitting when they said they thought ethnic cleansing was bad, because apparently it's all like people can't get enough ethnic cleansing. And even when you describe to them, well, that's ethnic cleansing, it's like, well, it has to happen. Like they with no shame about it whatsoever. And what's really bad, I'll tell you, you were talking about how, people say, well, JD Vance is, comically evil and everything, or JD Vance is stupid. What's really bad is that we all know JD Vance is not stupid. Like he's not Donald Trump. Like JD Vance knows what he's saying, and he knows it's wrong, and he admits it. That's the wild. This is like, so I don't think it is recency bias, because I'm sure you guys have seen that clip of, I think it was 1979 or 1980, and it was the Republican primaries between George Bush Sr. and Ronald Reagan, and they're talking about immigration. It's like the most like hippie shit you've ever heard. They're like, well, these are good, decent people, and we need to, bring them into society and get them trained in school.
Better than the blacks we got here.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not like
that's really what they were on.
I know, right? That's what it's like. Well, I've seen worse, but it's and Reagan granted amnesty for 4 million illegal immigrants in the 80s, like something unthinkable today. Like JD Vance was like, oh, well, just because Reagan waved his magic wand and made them legal doesn't make them legal. Well, it turns out it does. And so not the fact that he admits that he's lying about the status of the Haitian immigrants, but also he admitted like the lie about the eating the pets thing. Because when they do confront him, he's like, what did he say? He said, well, listen, if I have to make up a story to get people to pay attention to Springfield, Ohio, I'm going to do it. Which, what the fuck?
Tell a lie big enough and people will believe it. Like that's it's Joseph Goebbels incarnate.
Yeah,
like he said straight face, like, yeah, I'm capping. And
I've never seen anyone do that. And JD Vance has done it twice, like in a week, where he's like, yeah, I lie. What are you gonna do about it? And I saw someone comment here because I noticed this too. Look at the boomers behind Vance blindly nodding their heads. Yes, because when JD Vance, when the reporter was asking, well, you know, these immigrants are legal, all the boomers were like, nope. No, so how do you fucking know? Like you guys couldn't explain the difference between like, you know, temporary protected status or a work permit or a green card.
They don't know shit. Branches of government.
No chance. No fucking chance. It's embarrassing.
It all goes down into the same thing we always talk about, right? It's all the same. The Overton window has shifted significantly in a way that is really, really hard to ignore. The ideas being spewed out today that are like, at the very least acceptable, and some of the ones that are celebrated are unthinkable. Were unthinkable 20-30 years ago in just every facet of social politics, as well as like actual governmental politics, like LGBTQ ideas, concepts of like drag queens and drag shows are now suddenly like the worst thing to have ever been created. The ideas that are being talked about now, what is being said, and this I attribute largely to Trump, because he packaged it in this like really funny, sort of somewhat charismatic and so silly that we didn't take him seriously enough attitude that it actually became mainstream. And this is something that I wanted to point out earlier when we were talking about how there's nobody that's going to be able to replace Trump, because a lot of the Trump's fan base aren't even like establishment Republican people or people with even Republican views. They're like, I know people from I used to go to school with that just like Trump because A, he gave us stimulus checks, and A, he's funny, and I'm voting Trump because he's funny, he valid, he says this, that, and the third. That's what, you know what I'm saying? He's entertaining. And so the ideas, what's being said flies over the heads of the people who would ultimately like disagree, and over the people who do agree are left completely open to just continue piling on and piling on and piling on, because most people don't take it seriously enough to actually step up and be like, whoa, this is scary. This is real scary rhetoric. At least that's my theory on it.
I want to add real quick, John, for you, but I love when people say, I'm going to vote for Trump because he gave the stimulus check. Because Trump gave a $600 stimulus check. Biden gave you a $1,200 stimulus check. Like literally double what Trump gave you. And I've never heard people like, well, I'm voting for Biden because of the stimmy. I've never heard that, but I always hear it for Trump. And it's so strange. Like, I don't understand how that happens, but I don't know.
I heard someone the other day, TJ, they were like, I was going to vote for Biden, but I really don't like Kamala, so I'm going to vote for Trump. And my brain short circuited. I was like, and this was a Hispanic immigrant woman, and I was like, what are you smoking? Man, it was weed, but like it still weed. Confused me.
Still inexcusable. All right. I want to close this out here. Mark Louderback, a friend of the show, he wrote, TJ, power is taken, or power is not given, it's taken. If you got to lie, you got to lie. I figured you would approve. So here's the thing, Mark. Lying about good things is good. Lying about bad things is bad. Like if you're gonna lie to protect, your Jewish neighbor from the Nazis, that's a good lie. That lie is perfectly fine. Yeah, a lie saying that Haitians are stealing your animals and sacrificing them to Molech. No, that's a bad lie. So that's my point here. Because I don't know.
And also, TJ, there's a difference between lying to get power and lying and admitting you are lying to get power, like that.
That's stupid.
And then it's not even like I actually don't like. I'm not going to hate on JD Vance for that. Like I'm going to be like, JD Vance is doing what he needs to do. Like he's got a plan. He's following the plan and he's executing the plan. the people who hear that and don't immediately go fuck you, that's what I have a problem with. I don't understand how you can hear a man go, yeah, no, I know I'm lying and I'm doing it intentionally for this purpose, and the purpose is to deport millions of innocent people, and yeah, I'm going to keep doing it, and then just we're going to go along with that guy.
Well, that's what go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think when we like, oh, it's the people that don't look at that and don't immediately register it as bullshit. And I think I've stopped giving credit to the average American. Like, I've stopped giving like that much credit to the average American, or not even just the average American, but the people who are listening to that and don't immediately call bullshit. There's a reason they don't call bullshit. It's because they don't care. They don't give a fuck. It's rooted in racism. Like, there's really no way around it. They're looking for JD Vance isn't special in him being like, if I have to lie about immigrants to make them look bad in the public eye so that I could justify mass deportation, then I'm going to do it. That is something that is a policy that a lot of his fan base, a lot of the Republicans, a lot of the conservatives in the United States today would wholeheartedly be like, yeah, sure, I'm down, because we've seen it play out with so many minority communities throughout the inception of the United States, right? From the savage, cannibal justification for the genocide of the Native American people to the like hood drug dealing, welfare mammy, justification for increased policing in Black neighborhoods. It's always been, the bottom line is like racism, right? Like, and then you apply whatever flimsy logic you can on top of it. But even if you dismantle the logic, even if you argue with them and you say, well, that sounds like bullshit, right? It doesn't matter. You're not going to win the debate by being factual and intelligent and logical. That's not how this works. You know what I mean? And that's just where we are.
I've been doing exactly that. Like, I've been like, because what I like to do to make my content is I like to battle out in the comments and just pull as many bad arguments to argue against that I can. I use it as a research tool, but I try and get to the end with some of these people. And like, I've been trying to be like, so like, what evidence do you have that these immigrants are harming this community in Springfield? Because all of the evidence says, no, Springfield is way better off than it was 10 years ago because of these immigrants. And they're like, no, don't you see, bro? Like, it's obvious. And it's like, what do you mean it's obvious? Like, and they can't admit that, they just think Haitians are worse people.
Yeah.
And they cannot admit, and you see the fucking people. You see the Haitian dude, the normal able-bodied Haitian dude walking around the factory. It's like, that just looks like any other dude. And then you see the people complaining about the Haitian dude. It's like, that's a fucking crackhead. And like, it's every single time. And it's the only way that they don't see that is they're only looking at the skin color, because it's every single time.
Yeah. They when they say it's obvious it's gotten worse, it means the population is a lot less white and a lot less American born, and that's bad. Like, that's the actual problem. It's just at the current moment, at least, it's impolite to say this in proper society, that you just want the country to be white, native born Americans. They haven't gotten that far yet. They allude to it, but so like, John, and what I was confused about when you said that. With JD Vance saying this, he's doing what he has to do. This seems like the opposite, though, because like, if you're gonna lie, the first step is to not admit it's a lie. Like when George Soros pays us all the money to do this show, like the instructions are like, don't say that you're lying to the audience. Keep that, close to the chest right there. So like, JD Vance just admitting that I think there's a reason no one's done this before, where it's like, hey, just so you know, it's a lie. And now your fans are going to believe it, but the people on on the fence at all, like, oh, this guy's an admitted liar. That's not cool. And that's the part that confused me.
TJ,
John, are you going to let him sneak that in there? Like, I just want to know, are you going to let him sneak that one in there? Or is this
the George?
No, I'm not going to mention it. The instructions were very clear. No, so
the instructions were very clear. When he's what TJ's
know what happens if we but no, so TJ, this is, sometimes I put takes out there and I'm like, I feel that this is true.
Yeah.
I don't know it's true, but I'm putting this take out there. And sometimes I wish that it's not true.
Yeah.
As soon as JD Vance was on the ticket, I remember putting this out there. It's like, it's well known that like he compared Trump to Hitler.
Mhm.
And I think I said this on the show. I definitely put it on Threads that he compared Trump to Hitler. He saw the weakness of Joe Biden and the Democratic Party at the time and was like, well, if Hitler's going to win, I'm going to be on his side.
Mhm.
And if you look at his playbook, it's straight the fuck out of like Joseph Goebbels. Like it is.
Yeah.
It is Nazi style propaganda. It is, and like, and this isn't like some like, oh my god, this fucking. He used the same words. He calls these people vermin.
Yeah,
it's blood and soil rhetoric, and that is the playbook. And so, like, yeah, TJ, you're right. Under normal circumstances, that would be insane. And back in 2016, you couldn't have gotten away with this shit. And even in 2020, you couldn't have gotten away with this shit. But at this point, it's escalated so far that like we are at that point. Like we are at the point where Donald Trump is on the debate stage. And I thought this was very telling. It's something that a lot of people didn't talk about the debate. But Donald Trump is on the debate stage and he's talking about Project 2025. And he's done this multiple times now where he says, I haven't even read it.
Mhm.
And like the thing that we've joked about is like, well, if you haven't read it, how do you know you don't support it? But a little bit deeper than that, he's admitting that he's strategically not reading it so he can have plausible deniability.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
The playbook is right there. They're saying, hey, I'm doing a con on you.
Mhm.
And I'm doing it in order to accomplish these goals. And if you support me, you have to go along with the con, and everyone's going along with the con, knowing it's a con. So JD Vance is just the next natural step of that. He honestly tried to be a little like normal, and he
did.
He started out trying to be normal.
If you haven't, I don't know if you know, but he's been way more all over the place. Like he has been out there. He's been the face of this campaign ever since the debate. And the reason is because he's doubling the fuck down. And Trump likes that. And so he gets more airtime. Like that's what I say. He's doing what he has to do. Trump was saying, I don't talk to this guy. And suddenly he's all over the place. Why do you think that is? Because he's saying, I'm going to lie about the immigrants and people are going to eat it up.
I guess for me, that begs the question of, and this is something that TJ kind of asked, but I don't think we ever actually got into really answering what even happens when Trump loses. Like what happens to these sycophants?
We've postulated on this for a while on like what direction the Republican Party is going to go, because what's really going to cripple the Republican Party isn't just real quick before I go on this, because you mentioned Trump dying. I think that there is a God-sized hedge of protection around Trump that he's going to be saying. I think Trump's going to live to 104. Like I really do. Like, he's going to be around for a long time. But like, no matter how Trump dies, if Trump dies from an assassination attempt, if he dies from a heart attack tomorrow, if he dies from old age at 102, no matter when he dies, there will be a conspiracy theory that, they got to him. Like the deep state finally, which just really pisses me off.
This
that
102-year-old man, other explanation for his death.
You know it. Like, that will happen. Like, no matter how old Trump is when he dies, they'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe they finally got our boy Trump. And so that's going to be a big blow, losing Trump. But also, I mean, this isn't news to you two guys, and certainly probably people listening, is that the Republican Party is literally dying. Like the boomers and the silent gens that are still around that make up the bulk of Republican voters are dying every day, and young people are turning 18 every day. And so like they're dwindling, and then a whole bunch died from COVID. It is dwindling away as we speak. And I know people always tease, well, Texas could go blue this year. It's not. But Texas could go blue.
Powers, TJ.
Did he predict it to be blue?
He's convinced. No, he's not predicting to be blue.
Oh.
He's convinced. He has gone deep into like the data, and it's like the numbers are there for if Democrats turned out enough in Texas, it would go blue. But the state represses it essentially. But like if they just showed up, like if everyone just showed up to vote, the state would be very blue.
I think Texas will go blue like 8, maybe 12 years from now. It will happen. eventually it will happen
in our lifetime.
For sure.
Yeah, when
For
that
sure.
happens, done. Like the Republican Party as a national power is over, and they will need to shift. They'll need to become something totally different than they are now if they're going to survive. They're not going to just roll over and die. So I'm curious to see what unless they're planning for fascist takeovers and no elections actually plans out, which is what they really want to do. So
that's why it's happening. Like,
yeah,
that
they see
is
the
why
writing
it's
on the
happening,
wall.
because the
Yeah.
writing is on the wall.
Mhm.
It's over, and they're trying. It's our last grasp.
Yeah. All right. So do you guys want to go to should we do the John Kennedy one with the Arab American League interview? I think that's a pretty good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I did.
Oh, yeah.
I did want to chat for 1 second.
Oh, let's go.
Because
This
it's
is a great
related to
show,
what
by
we
the way.
just
Holy
talked
shit.
about.
I'm having a
It
blast
is.
the show.
We're-
This show is
this-
great.
We're not doing a good job of sticking to the topics, but
Oh,
we're
but
having
it's-
great conversation.
Yes, my God.
The Laura Loomer of it all.
The Laura Loomer of it all.
It is very clear that Trump is having an affair with Laura Loomer.
100%. Like there's no real question.
Do we
about it.
want to do Laura Loomer instead? Because
I want to do Laura Loomer
all right,
because
I got them both ready. I got them both
It
ready.
explains
Yeah,
a
let's do-
lot. It explains a
Let's go,
lot of what's
Laura
going on. TJ, I want to hear what you got ready, because it's a story that isn't getting talked about enough. It has all of the things that would make a great story, and I don't understand why the media isn't all the fuck over it.
I think it's a touch too tawdry, even for Donald Trump. Maybe that's what they're going with. But okay, so let's just get the show rolling. This is actually the one I wanted to do the most, but it was the least important, I thought. So,
Well, no,
it's kind
TJ,
of
honestly,
the
it
most
is kind of. It is important that a candidate for presidency of the United States is, I guess we don't know that he's fucking her, but he's at the very least keeping a conspiracy theorist who says that 9/11, what was it, an inside job?
Yeah,
legitimately, that
she
is the
did.
person that is in his inner circle right now, and he could be president of the United States.
I mean,
that's a big deal.
Is she any crazier than Stephen
That's what
Miller
I'm
or
saying.
Steve Bannon? I mean, yes, maybe a little, but it's like I don't know. I don't think he was fucking Steve Bannon, so maybe that's a difference. But it's just all right. So, all right, who is Laura Loomer? For anyone wondering, Laura Loomer she's essentially a C-tier conservative commentator. I remember seeing stuff from her. She spreads the wildest conspiracy theories imaginable. Like John brought up the 9/11 inside job thing. She got kicked off of Twitter for some sort of Islamophobic bigotry. Like she was always saying that. Yeah, I remember one time she said that she put a tweet out saying, "Yeah, I'm looking to catch a cab, but all the cabbies here are Muslim, and I'm not getting in a car with one of them." I mean, just like the most vile shit imaginable. That she was actually removed from Twitter for it. She had this hilarious protest where she handcuffed herself to the front door of the Twitter building, but it was like 2 doors, so people could still walk in and out. And they asked her. They asked her, "Hey, why didn't you just loop the handcuffs around both doors so people couldn't enter?" And her answer was oddly responsible. She goes, "Oh, well, if I did that, it'd be a fire code violation," which I thought was very funny that she actually was reasonable enough. Yeah. So Laura Loomer has been seen hanging out with Donald Trump. This picture right here is her heading out of Trump's plane right before the debate with Kamala Harris. There's a lot of pictures of her and Trump being this one is just a normal one, honestly, with them, taking a photo. But there's pictures with her and her chest shoved right up against Trump and with his hands around her hip and her waist and everything, being very friendly. And when I first heard this, I thought, well, look, I mean, who knows? I don't. But then this started showing up more and more, and it got pretty bad when it kept spreading and more people started discovering who Laura Loomer was and statements that she made. And so I'm going to share one of them right here so you guys can get a good idea of what kind of person this Loomer is. All right, let's see what she has to say here.
Oh, Lord.
Like the way they talk and their little DEI Shaniqua voices, and it's just very irritating sound. They all have the same voice. I'm talking about Kamala Harris, Letitia James, and Fannie Willis. Like all of the meritless DEI Shaniquas talk the same way. It's very obnoxious the way that they talk.
Is DEI not just the N-word? Because what the fuck is a DEI Shaniqua voice? Is that not just the N-word, bro?
So what separates Laura Loomer from most of your other conservative commentator is that there is no polish on Laura Loomer. Like
Great
most.
racist.
Yeah, most conservative commentators would be, would have enough finesse to not say DEI Shaniqua voice. Because like you said, it doesn't make sense. Like a diversity, equity, and inclusion voice. What the fuck does that mean? You mean a black voice because you named 3 black women in a row and called them Shaniquas. So yeah, this was just something that's
it's like the opposite of that Modern Family joke where Phil Dunphy's like, yeah, I just think I'm attracted to just powerful, independent women, Michelle Obama, Serena Williams, Oprah. Wait.
I saw that. I've never seen Modern Family, but I saw that clip for the first time, I think, yesterday. Hilarious. He's like, yeah, Oprah, Condoleezza Rice, Serena Williams. And, oh, wait a minute. It's really funny. It's just really funny like that.
And even when Laura Loomer uses the DEI, like the word DEI in and of itself, we all know it's a dog whistle. But they at least try to be like sneaky about it. Like, they'll be like, they'll speak about DEI only in specific context of like talking about a black person that has gotten a position, not like as an actual like term for a black person, which is how she's using it in this instance. Like the DEI Shaniqua voice. You could have just said the N-word and made everybody's day easier. You didn't have to, because it's functionally the same. It doesn't even operate. The word doesn't mean the same thing when used in this context. Diversity, equity, and inclusion Shaniqua voice. It's just the N-word for her, and she's unabashedly. I'm actually surprised she didn't just go out and say it, because of the things that I've seen from her, like the straightforward, unabashed, open racism that I've seen from her. I'm genuinely surprised that she didn't just call Kamala Harris the N-word at this point.
Well, I mean, she said not the N-word. She went the other way. And she said, the White House will smell like curry, and White House speeches will be facilitated via call center. That's what she said. Like, that's insanely. That is like, if I heard that as a middle schooler, I'd be like, bro, you got to step up your racist joke game. That's not even good. It's not even good enough for 12-year-old me to laugh at. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. This is what kicked off like the media firestorm, what John was talking about right here, where he says, Laura Loomer says, if Kamala wins the White House, it'll smell like curry. House speeches will be facilitated via call center. The American people will only be able to convey their feedback through a customer satisfaction survey that nobody will understand. Now, do you guys know that there was a congressperson who took offense to this statement? If you know it, don't say it. But if you don't know it, I want you to guess. Do you guys know who it was?
There have been a couple. I don't know which one you're referring to.
All right. Okay. So there was a congressperson, and I'll pull up which congressperson was particularly upset about this. And it might surprise a few of you guys out there, but it was Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, yeah.
And she responded to Laura Loomer's statement saying, this is appalling and extremely racist. It does not represent who we are as Republicans or MAGA. Okay. This does not represent President Trump. This type of behavior should not be tolerated ever. Laura Loomer should take this down.
Say cyclone now.
Right? Yeah. It's like, wow, why would Marjorie Taylor Greene be so pissed about this? This seems right up her alley, right?
TJ, that's a rhetorical question, right?
Oh, of course I know. Yeah, John, please enlighten us why you think.
I need to know why. I need to know why she. I have no idea.
You see, Ate, have you seen The Boys?
Yes.
No, we did all.
Obviously, Firecracker is built around Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Mm-hmm.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is pissed that Laura Loomer was fucking Don Trump. like that's it. That's the entire story here. It's a cat fight. Like that's it.
That makes sense.
Upset. She's the one.
Okay. That makes so much sense, because my eyeballs were popping out of my head. Racist from Marjorie Taylor Greene saying something is intolerant. I was genuinely fucking flabbergasted, but that makes so much sense. Why hasn't Marjorie Taylor Greene been, sort of in Trump's inner circle? Is it really just because she's not that attractive to him?
Well, probably, but
she's more attractive than Laura Loomer, in my opinion. I don't know.
Laura, You know how this is our we're allotted 4 minutes of misogyny every episode. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that right now. Do you guys know how old Laura Loomer is?
She's 36.
31. She's 31. She is a rough 31, folks. That is she got like a bunch of work done. Like, I don't know, getting work done on your face is tricky. Like, it's you got to make sure it's done right. Otherwise, you end up looking like Laura Loomer because but so with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she has had a thing for Trump for a long time. And I don't know if you guys have seen this clip right here but it's a clip where it's before Marjorie Taylor Greene was elected to Congress. And I think it's right before, and she's giving a presentation to some women's group. And she has a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but here we go.
That's insane.
There we go. And then I gotta do one more thing. I always
MTG is buff as hell.
Watch your hand. Watch your hand.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he is. He's fantastic. This guy right here is great. Standing up in there in the mucky swamp. Diane always has him in the mucky swamp. Yeah. But it's amazing.
I just so
in front of everybody,
in front of God and everyone, she's just rubbing on this two-dimensional penis, and it's just so strange. And so I didn't include this in the clips that I brought for the show, but there's like a back and forth between Greene and Loomer. It's fantastic. You guys should look it up sometime. But Loomer fires back at her saying, "Oh, it's funny you call me a racist when you're an anti-Semite who believes in space lasers for Jewish people. And one of your staffers told me your favorite word is the N-word. And by the way, I won, even though you tried to tell Trump I'm a bad person. He doesn't believe you." I mean, it couldn't be more obvious what's going on there.
It was a cat fight, like
it is. It absolutely is. And she backed Kevin McCarthy, who was like kind of at odds with Trump. And so, yeah, she's like, and so I got Oppo and all that. And Laura Loomer is just gloating the entire fucking time. And it's pretty fun to watch. But yeah, did I fill the picture? Oh, I tried to pull the picture of. Oh, wait, John.
It would be so fitting, like after all of this craziness, after all of it, if somehow the reason Donald Trump gets taken down is for having an affair with a conspiracy theorist. That would be the most fitting. Like it's like you couldn't have seen any of this coming except for that. That's the one thing you could have seen coming, and I'm surprised it took this goddamn long.
Have you guys seen Succession?
I've never seen it. No.
Great show.
This is something that when I was looking up Laura Loomer and sort of researching on her, this is something that immediately jumped out to me as the exact same dynamic between the main character, not the main character, but the father, Logan Roy, and one of like the young assistants that he ends up like bringing into his inner circle. And his 3 kids are all looking at this woman that's like fucking 50 years his junior. She's like 30 something years old, came from nothing, and she's going on all these like private flights with him, and is showing up to every event that he's at, and is like his right hand. And he's got a wife, like he's got a wife full and everything. And the way their characters, his children, talked about their relationship was so funny, because they recognize that it's this like old powerful dinosaur that for all intents and purposes is one of the most powerful people in the world, but is still decrepit and icky, and like there's something like not. And he's also like in the show he's like losing a lot of mental capacity. Like his brain health is declining and his physical health is declining rapidly, and it seems like the exact same dynamic between Trump and Laura Loomer, like this old but super powerful but also decrepit and kind of nasty political figure with this like young and somewhat attractive I say somewhat attractive because I just looked up a picture of Laura Loomer.
She's terrifying. She was like Jigsaw, I think.
Yeah, and like
oh my god, that's such a good comparison.
She does. She's Jigsaw.
All right, your 4 minutes is up, TJ.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm canceled. I'm not. No more. No more.
Organization.
That's good. I know.
Jigsaw is crazy. I was gonna say she looks like a drawing, but Jigsaw is nuts. Jigsaw is incredible. But I don't know. It just
Jigsaw makes a hell of a lot more sense than Laura Loomer.
Yeah, like
much more consistent worldview.
She moonlights as Jigsaw when she's not working with. Well, real quick. So I want to play this video because these rumors have gotten to Laura Loomer that she's sleeping with Donald Trump, and she wants to let you know that she will not stand for this. Oh, that was kind of sexist too. I didn't mean it that way, but I did not mean it that way. But I'm gonna go ahead and share this so you guys can see what her response to these allegations are.
So malicious, so disrespectful to Donald Trump and Melania Trump. They've taken it so far. And if I was a leftist journalist, if I was
All right, John, I know you said my 4 minutes is up, but I swear this is the last comment. No, I noticed that she's wearing a pearl necklace. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. That she's wearing a pearl necklace. I didn't notice that, but okay.
If I had more respect for her intelligence, I would say that was intentional.
Yeah, right. The pearl necklace is a good. God, that's funny. That's all right. Well, here, let's go. Let's finish.
I was a leftist journalist, if I was a Democrat, oh my God, the media would be up in arms if the Republican media was doing this to a left-wing journalist. Oh my God, they're misogynist. They're bullying a woman. They're trying to Monica Lewinsky her. They're demonizing her. They're trying to discredit the fact that she's a working woman. I mean, look, I know that Kamala Harris sucked dick to get where she is today, okay? And she had to sleep with Willie Brown in order to get to the top. But some of us women, right, we actually work hard. Some of us women have no desire to have sexual affairs with politicians or men with elite political status to climb the ladder. I know that Kamala Harris can't say the same, but, believe me when I say that that's not me. Or as Kamala Harris likes to say, they ain't like us, right? She ain't like me. I ain't like her. Okay, I don't suck dick to get to the top. That's what Kamala.
All right,
is that
I take
not?
It back.
Which one is is defamation or libel? Which one's written, and then which one is?
So slander is speech, libel is in writing.
Is that not slander?
Well, so slander and like defamation and stuff is very difficult against a public figure. If it's against a private figure, it's a lot easier. But against a politician, almost impossible to get like a defamation lawsuit. Yeah,
it has to be really,
it has to be really bad.
It has to be so.
Yeah,
so
like
bad.
You raped a child bad. Like saying like it has to be like to that level. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Crazy. John, I want to take back what I said, or what you said. Like, we don't think she's smart enough. She mentioned Monica Lewinsky and sucking dick 3 times in that, and wearing the pearl necklace. No, that's on purpose. That is on purpose. I think she did that on purpose. I think that is that's what she's going for. Right? Yeah, it's kind of on the nail on the head there. And I wanted to, if you're wondering, we haven't shown what Donald Trump had to say about any of this. Like, what does Donald Trump have to say about this? Because people are saying, like, they've asked, like, listen, Laura Loomer has said a ton of racist shit. And John, what you're saying, the Republicans are mad. A lot of Republicans are mad. It's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, a lot of Republican pundits and Republican broadcasters and Republican politicians,
like, she's giving away the game.
Yes.
It's like, there's like, yo, Laura, shut the fuck up. Like, we've been saying this subtly racist shit for years. If you just say the racist version of it, they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. Barry Goldwater is rolling over in his grave. He taught you guys how to use the dog whistles back in the civil rights era, and you're just throwing it all away. We thought it was bad with Trump. So they asked Trump, hey, is Laura Loomer advising your campaign? Because if so, we should know. And here was Donald Trump's response to this.
Republican colleagues or your allies who are concerned about your close relationship with Laura Loomer?
Well, I don't know what they would say. Laura's been a supporter of mine, just like a lot of people are supporters, and she's been a supporter of mine. She speaks very positively of the campaign. I'm not sure why you asked that question, but Laura is a supporter. I don't control Laura. Laura has to say what she wants. She's a free spirit. Well, I don't know. I mean, look, I can't tell Laura what to do. Laura's a supporter. I have a lot of supporters.
How many times this nigga gonna say?
So I don't know what exactly you're referring to. That's okay. Yeah, please. I just don't know. Laura's a supporter. I don't know. She is a strong person. She's got strong opinions, and I don't know what she said, but that's not up to me. She's a supporter. Please.
traveling with you on your plane.
Okay, a lot of people do. It's a very big
traveling
plane.
with you. She made racist remarks about your opponent. She also espoused conspiracy theories about 9/11. Do you disavow those remarks?
Well, to see what the remarks are. You're telling me for the first time we're here discussing the destruction of San Francisco and California by a person that's running for president. So I don't even know what you're talking about. I do know that she may have said something based on what you're telling me, but I don't know what she said. But I'll go take a look and I'll put out a statement later on. But I really don't know. Please.
Okay, I want to go to Ate first, if you don't mind, John, real quick. So I love the use of I'm hearing this for the first time, just like he used with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That really made me laugh. So if I didn't think he was bullshitting by now, I definitely did now. So Ate, riddle me this. His statement is that, look, Laura Loomer is not a part of this campaign. He and JD Vance both released official statements saying that Laura Loomer is not part of this campaign. All right. Mm-hmm. Why has she been following you around for weeks now? Why has she been on your plane? Like, what's going on there? What's your theory? I'm curious.
I think she's a supporter. I mean, that's the best thing I can say. And that it's so funny because he said that like at least 10 times throughout this interview, and he beat me over the head with it. She's on the campaign because she's a supporter, and she is one of the most outspoken supporters of his campaign, and he's fucking her. I don't.
It's funny because Trump knows how to lie.
Yeah,
and he's clearly caught off guard by this. Like when Trump is lying and knows he's lying. This was Trump lying on the spot.
Yeah,
and it was very clear.
Quick.
Like that's the most caught in an affair statement I've ever heard. Like she's a free spirit.
She's a free spirit.
Have you ever heard Donald Trump describe someone as a free fucking spirit?
She makes me feel so young. Like I mean, it's just like it's just like that was in a strong field of competition. That is the least believable I've ever heard Donald Trump. Like it's like he was just and there's like, well, why is she on the plane? Well, a lot of people, it's a big plane. Like, whoo, buddy. Whoa.
You just seen how flustered he was when they asked him. I knew immediately that he was flustered when he's like, I don't even know why you would ask me that. Like, dude, she's a supporter.
Any one of my supporters can wander onto the plane anytime they feel like, yeah, it's just like, man, that is like, my first thought when I saw that, I was like, oh, those two definitely aren't fucking. There's no way I'm seeing that. I'm convinced they're just good pals, that everyone in his circle is like, stay as far away from her as possible. And you're going to keep her around, go out of your way. See, what really gets that, he really painted himself to a corner when he said that she's not part of the campaign, because then you have to wonder, well, why is she there? Why is she traveling from state to state with you? Why are you hugging
up the 9/11 memorial with him?
He didn't. It's just
why would you bring random supporter with you? That doesn't make any fucking sense in the world.
What kind of confuses me about this though is like about the idea, which is probably more true than it isn't, that he's bringing her to to smash, is that like there are a lot of really beautiful women that are
oh my god,
to power, right? Like I'm certain without a fraction of a doubt that Trump could find some of the most beautiful women in the world that are exclusively attracted to wealth and power and do not care about the morality of whoever it is they're servicing, that he could bring with him anywhere. Because he's a billionaire and he's a fucking presidential candidate and he's Trump.
But you're hitting the nail on the head here. He's had a whole life of that. He's had a whole life of just grab him by the pussy and they don't care. What he cares about is her sycophancy. Like he cares that she's gonna get on a fucking microphone in front of millions, a couple hundred people,
and tens of people,
and say the most vile racist shit in his name. Like that's what gets him hard. It's hard to get him hard.
That's what gets him hard.
But here's the thing with that too. Do you remember a couple months ago when everyone thought that Trump must be hooking up with his lawyer, Alina Habba? I mean, say what you want about Alina Habba. She's very attractive. Like she's just as acerbic. Well, she's not quite as racist. I've never heard her say anything racist. So maybe that's what actually turns Donald Trump on, is the racism. Like that's actually what gets him going. That Alina Habba was just a lying sycophant, but she wasn't quite bigoted enough. I mean, any like Jesus, like you don't think, all right, once again, I'm like 3 shows into my misogyny here, but it's like you don't think like Lauren Boebert or Nancy Mace were 1,000 times better looking than Laura
or even like Tomi Lahren. Like, where is she at on Trump?
See, I don't know if she's quite that bad. Like Tomi Lahren is awful, but she's been sounding the alarm on a lot of this shit because like she's smart. Like she's not like I remember like, the reason she left Fox News or got fired is because she came out as pro-choice. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yes, that's right.
So like I've seen her. She did it. I can't remember who the interview was, but she was telling them, "Hey, you need to dial back this rhetoric because it is really turning off a lot of people." So I don't think Tomi Lahren would fit that mold. Like not the way Laura Loomer would. You know, she's just shameless. Yeah, she's not quite sycophantic as Lauren Loomer, but yikes. Yeah, that is we're cracked the code, fellas. They're definitely
they're fucking.
They fucking all right. All right.
You want to talk about this?
I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that his wife knows? Like, anybody knows? I mean, like, is like just shake hands, like just.
She's
cool.
Probably ecstatic. She's probably ecstatic, man. Like,
Melania doesn't talk to him. She's somewhere else.
You've seen those
in a while.
Well, yeah. So you've seen the videos over the years. It's been funny watching the videos of Trump and Melania's interactions where he tries to hold her hand and she swats it away. I feel like I've seen a dozen of those videos where she does that. Yeah, she seems to be repulsed by him. And the fact that she has never been with him on the campaign trail, she doesn't go with him to his court appearances for like a year and a half now. They've not been traveling in public together. And it's like, okay, things are not going well between and the
family values people don't give a shit.
They don't care at all. And I don't feel bad for Melania Trump, but I feel a little because imagine you're I don't know where she's from, like somewhere in Eastern Europe. I can't remember, but Slovakia, some Eastern European supermodel. And you're like, you get the chance to marry Donald Trump at like 68 years old or something like that. You're like, hey, all right.
This guy's gonna any minute now.
He'll be dead any day. And the guy lives 20 more years. You're like, oh my God, what is this guy? And then he runs for president. I mean, it's just like she never expected any of this. And so I'm not saying she's a good person or anything, but I don't blame her for the decision that she made. And she's definitely paying the price for it. So, all right, the last video we're gonna close up here. I sent this to. Did you both get a chance to view this? It's Senator John Kennedy talking. Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Senator John Kennedy is from Alabama, I think, or Louisiana. I forget which one he's from.
Louisiana,
and he speaks like he's Foghorn Leghorn, even though that's not his actual voice. If you look up clips from him from 25 years ago, he has no accent at all. Well, it's a slight accent, but now he's dialed it up to 11 to, appeal to his voting base. But he was interviewing Maya Berry from the American Arab Institute, and it's the worst. John, what did you say when I text this to you? What did you say? I can't remember.
I forget. I said, Jesus Christ! Like this made me gasp.
Yeah,
this legitimately made me gasp.
All right, let's see what he's got to say.
You support Hamas, do you not?
Oh my God.
Senator, oddly enough, I'm going to say thank you for that question because it demonstrates the purpose of our hearing today in a very
Let's start first
way.
with a yes or no.
Hamas is a foreign terrorist organization that I do not support, but you asking the executive director of the Arab American Institute that question very much puts the focus on the issue of hate in our country.
Well, I got your answer and I appreciate it. What is the, you support Hezbollah too, don't you?
Hezbollah.
Again, I find this line of questioning extraordinarily disappointing,
Is that a
Senator.
no?
That
Or
you
a
have
yes?
you have Arab American constituents that you
But
represent
is
in your
that
great state.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, but my time's limited and I apologize, but is that a yes or a no?
Yes or no question to do I support Hezbollah? The answer is I don't support violence, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or any other entity that invokes
You
it.
can't
So
bring
no,
yourself to say no, can you?
No, I can say no. I can say yes.
But
What
you
I can
haven't.
say is
You just
your
can't
line
make
of
yourself do
questioning.
it. Do you
Senator.
support or oppose Iran and their hatred of Jews?
I have to pause it. All right, I got to pause it right there. Do you support Iran? What kind of fucking question is that? Like, you can like even as absurd as the first two was, do you support Hezbollah? Do you support the country of Iran? Like, what does that even mean? That's just
like it's just like there exists, like what, they're a country,
right?
Like, what do you mean by support them in doing what?
And doing what? I mean, and then he goes to clarify in their hatred of the Jews, which, you know, that was kind of
I guess
the
no,
point of
bro.
any of
In that
these
case, no.
yeah, like, okay, no, I don't think I do. Actually.
Again, I'm going to emphasize Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, none of them is going to
you can't bring yourself to say no,
sir. I don't support.
It's real simple.
Excuse me. I'm going to, if I may, as a Muslim woman, sir, I'm going to tell you I do not support Iran. But what I will tell you is that this conversation.
I'm running out of time. I'm sorry.
I feel so bad for her.
You called our decision to cut funding. You called our decision to cut fund. Well, first, what's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency?
It's UNRWA, which is the institution that exists to provide services and aid to the nearly 6 million Palestinian refugees.
And you called our decision to cut funding for them, quote, an incredible moral failure, close quote.
That is absolutely correct. But again, I would suggest that conversation is about foreign policy.
We did that because 9 UNRWA staff members were fired for actually helping Hamas on October 7th. Isn't that the case?
I don't believe that that's correct in terms
Let me ask you one more time. You support Hamas, don't you? You support UNRWA and Hamas, don't you?
Sir,
Hamas.
I think it's exceptionally disappointing that you're looking at an Arab American witness before you and saying you support Hamas.
You know what's disappointing to me?
I do not support Hamas. I do not support Hamas.
You don't support UNRWA. You don't support Hamas. You don't.
I was very clear in my support for UNRWA.
Hezbollah, and you don't support Iran. You should hide your head in a bag.
All right, John, your thoughts on the Honorable John Kennedy?
Yeah, that was so I saw that, I saw like whispers of that before you sent me the video. And so I was like, I didn't realize just how fucking atrocious it was. That sounded like something you see in a biopic.
It does.
Like the fucking civil rights
era. Does. You're right. It's exactly like that. Holy shit.
And you're like, oh, I can't believe how racist the fucking senators were. That was one of the most
Texans and everything.
Exactly. Every part of that, from no, I don't support it. You can't bring yourself to say you don't support it. No, that's what I just fucking said multiple times. To the look on her face, and I say this as someone who's never been disadvantaged by my race, gender, ethnicity, or anything in my fucking life. I can clearly recognize the look on her face as a person who is used to being in a position where they're being spoken down to like that and having to contain themselves. And it was so uncomfortable to watch, to just see the position he was putting her in. And that dude just gets to be a fucking senator. And then he ends it with the fucking cherry on top. You should put your head in a bag. Just straight, blatant, fucking second guessing about it. That's fucking racist. It's insane. And then you support UNRWA. Yeah, bro, I support the United Nations. What the fuck are you talking about? You think just because it has a fucking acronym and I say it next to Hamas that people are going to be like, oh, and you're a Muslim woman, so this must be a terrorist organization? Oh my God.
Yeah, there's things we can laugh about. There's things, I make this distinction of some things in U.S. politics where it's haha, that's, I can joke about how, crazy it is. And then there's things like this where I can't even bring myself to laugh about the absurdity of it, because I see that video and I'm like, this is just really depressing. These are professionals, right? These are all people that are professionals in politics. They are people that were voted in by us, right? We talk about ideas of how the democracy is supposed to serve us and how our politicians are supposed to serve us, and they're supposed to be bastions of honesty and respect and fucking truth. And seeing this interaction played out on the world stage, on the political stage, in the same way it would be played out seeing if I were in fucking Kentucky right now and I were accosted by a racist homeowner. Like, it's the exact same framework. Is fucking terrifying, dude. It means that, like, top to bottom, dude, there's nowhere in this country you can go where you will not be faced with, like, blatant, real good old fashioned 1940s fucking civil rights era racism. Like, there's nowhere in this country they can go, and that sucks to see.
Yeah, you know what is the most depressing thing about that, like that entire grim spectacle that we just witnessed, is that John Kennedy will never pay the price for that. Never.
Yeah.
He will suffer zero consequences. In fact, he'll probably gain popularity for it because of his constituency. And so this is like, it's a John Kennedy problem that he's like clearly an awful human being. And people, we talk all the time are these folks stupid or evil? And the reality is, it doesn't matter if they're stupid or evil. If they're doing it with malicious intent or doing it out of genuine belief that this is the best thing for society and for the nation, the end result is still the same. And yeah, that's true for the politicians, but the problem with the Republican Party are Republican voters. Like, that's the problem. Like, people like to pretend that that's not the case, and it's like, oh no, that's like, it's kind of like with Donald Trump, kind of we were talking about earlier, and that, everyone wonders how Trump mystified all these people. It's like, well, no, they like who Donald Trump is because he is who they are. And that's what John Kennedy is. I guarantee you there are millions of people in Louisiana right now watching that and saying, get him, John, get him.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. That's what we need. We need to show these Arabs what's going on here. And the particulars don't matter. And this is like what goes back, we were talking about earlier, is that you can lay out all the details here. You can lay out, like, just because these people were accused of helping Hamas, which, listen, we condemn Hamas here at the left wing, just so you know, this is our official stance, but just so everybody knows. However, when it comes to Palestinian rights, Hamas is essentially the only game in town. Like, it is. Like, they are the government there. And so, listen, if you want to work with helping Palestinians, you kind of have to work with Hamas the same fucking way Donald Trump worked with the Taliban when he was working the deal to exit. That you have to do this. So, like, I don't know the details on that, but like, working with Hamas can mean 1,000 different things, and they want to weaken them anyway. So going after that doesn't really have a whole lot of value, and which is why, like, these absurd questions like, do you support Iran? I mean, it's like, well, what are you supposed to get from that? He tacks on, and their hatred of Jewish people, as if that's an inseparable to like non-overlapping
Every person in Iran hates Jewish people.
Yeah. And it's just like, this is one thing that we talked about on the last show, Ate, was that, like, with this sort of rhetoric becoming acceptable in polite conversation, where it would have just been, hidden in the corners or, filtered through 5 or 6 different euphemisms, and that people are coming out and saying it right now, that honestly, no matter who wins this election, it is going to be a rough time for this nation for the next decade or two. It's going to take a generation or two at least before everyone dies off who was convinced that Trump actually won the 2020 election, let alone like that subset that believes in, like, we throw it around a lot, but legitimate Nazi shit. Like, I don't know, like if there's an easy way out of this.
No, I don't think there is. I don't think the best case scenario is that, Kamala wins. But even, in the sense that in the instance of Kamala winning, this is something that leftist Twitter and leftist TikTok particularly has been really infighting over. Is the fact that Kamala winning and saving democracy, which is, by all accounts, a good thing and something that we should all be heavily invested in seeing happen. There's a lot of fears that really kind of is just staving off America's like constant rise, or not rise, but fall into fascism. Like, that's just more so putting a band-aid on a very, very, very serious issue about American politics and the way we as a country are starting to identify ourselves, right? Like, I kind of agree with that idea that Kamala being president, a good thing, sure. But and I've seen even like House Democrats will say things that Republicans were saying a couple decades ago that even the Democrats have moved right. Like immigration specifically is what has me really afraid for this country, is that the Democrats have pretty much moved to Republican viewpoints on immigration, and including Kamala, including even Biden, including Obama, including all these other like socialist, the ones that Republicans would call socialist. So yeah, it's a skid. I have no idea how we even get back to a point in U.S. politics where things are even remotely civil. Like I have no idea.
And to just circle back to what I said earlier, like I agree that the immigration thing is really, really starting to appear to be the Jews of this fascist movement. Like it's
absolutely
so clear and obvious. And the really like terrible fucking problem with that is there's a hell of a lot more immigrants than there ever has been Jewish people. Like the scope of the target is so huge. It's mortifying, and it's so easy. It fits the blood and soil rhetoric even better, because it can just be anyone. It doesn't matter. Do they come here legally? Who gives a shit? As long as they're not what we think an American is, doesn't matter. We saw the fucking video that got thrown around that Ian Miles Chong originally started the Haitians eating cats and dogs lie with. It was just a black American. It's just a random black woman like that was born in America. Like it can be anyone. And they're literally telling us, we don't care. We're going to define this however we want. The actual definition of illegal alien doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all.
We're going to define it however we want. We're going to verbatim tell this to you. And we're going to put in our party platform that we are going to deport Hamas radicals protesting on college campuses. Not even just illegal immigrants. And we know what they mean by Hamas radicals. They don't mean members of Hamas. They mean anyone supporting Palestine. They've been very clear about this. And it's in the Republican Party platform. I try and talk to conservatives in good faith. But when it comes to this topic, you can't, because they cannot argue in good faith that this isn't going on, because they've lost all plausible deniability. And that is why a lot of Republicans are mad at Laura Loomer, because she's just saying it. And we're a stone throw away from JD Vance saying it.
Oh, 100%.
We're going to be there very soon. As soon as they have power, they're going to say whatever the fuck they want, and they're going to do whatever the fuck they want, and they're going to define the people that they're deporting however the fuck they want.
Well, that's what Vivek Ramaswamy figured out when he talked to Ann Coulter, that one conversation where she said that, it actually is important that, white people, specifically of British descent, have an oversized influence in American culture. She came right out and said it. It's what a lot of them think. But, to them at this moment, they can't really say it out loud, which, John, like I said, this is why it's very difficult for me to do what you just described and argue with conservatives, because it is impossible to have a good faith conversation with most conservatives. Like, it is absolutely impossible, because they will not admit the actual core of their beliefs. They keep trying to dance around it and trying to pin you down. It's like, oh, well, we're not saying, black folk are genetically inferior. It's just the culture, just stuff that they hide behind that know is nonsense. And it's just, I don't know. And that's just one issue, let alone January 6th or fascism or, and it's just that, and also even efficacy. So for example, you mentioned a few times that, the Haitian immigrants rescued Springfield, Ohio. The population was shrinking. Young people were moving away. There was an opioid crisis. No one, it's not that no one wanted to work anymore. There was no one to work. They needed these people. If you deport all those people, you've killed the city of Springfield. Extrapolate that across 50 states where, if this plan were to work, which it really can't honestly, there's no logistical way to deport 20 million people in a few years. You would destroy the United States economy. It can't even work if you wanted it to.
DJ, there is This is why it happens in the way that it happens, because there's only one logical answer to that question. There is one final solution to that.
Yeah, I
problem.
see where you're going with this.
Again, like it's like that's why I'm like this is the crucible. Like this is where it either goes one way or the other. And my hope against all hopes is that Donald Trump is just fucking incompetent if he wins. But like if he isn't, that's the only way this goes.
Yeah, it is kind of heartening to see that there's two things that are really fortunate about this. Is that one is that Donald Trump is repulsive to the majority of the population. That is
So
way
was
too
Hitler.
many people. Yeah,
So
well,
was
way
Hitler.
too many people are fine with them, but the majority still do reject them. And the safeguards in place did stop him last time. Now he could circumvent that. He's had 4 years to work on it, but like the military, the Justice Department, the Attorney General and stuff, the Vice President, there were a lot of stopgaps in place to stop him doing it. Now, of course,
side this time.
I know, of course, he's learned his lesson. He's like, okay, I got to find better sycophants this time. And so, it's just that, I don't know, it is kind of dark.
Like I said it when he picked JD, like the reason he picked him is because that is the path he's decided to go down. Like it's the only logical reason why one would pick JD Vance of someone with better electoral odds, because he knows he can't have another Mike Pence if he wants to do the things he wants to do.
Yeah. I think when we talk about the safeguards in terms of American democracy, those were a lot of the safeguards that I was expecting to stop Trump the first time that he fucking found a way to finesse his way out of, like asking another country to interfere in your government's politics, and then getting impeached for that, and then not being fucking convicted is nasty work. How is that even?
Because the thing we mentioned, I say this all the time: impeachment is useless. Impeachment is a useless tool. Like there is no scenario I can possibly imagine in which 2/3 of the Senate will vote to convict a president. It's not going to happen. Like Andrew Johnson was 1 vote shy of being convicted. If we couldn't get rid of Andrew Johnson,
who committed genocide,
we can't get rid. No, not Jackson. Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson.
Andrew Johnson.
Andrew Johnson.
My bad.
He's
I was thinking, I was like, I don't remember Andrew Jackson.
They didn't even impeach Andrew Jackson. For that.
I was like, genocide. They're not impeaching presidents over genocide.
That's because that was an impeachable offense. Because the Supreme Court said that Andrew Jackson wanted to. We had to end the show, but Andrew Jackson wanted to remove the Seminole Indians from Florida, and the Supreme Court said, "Well, Mr. President, you don't have the authority to do that. You're not going to do a trail of tears from Florida to Oklahoma on these people." It was part one. It hadn't happened. And he goes, he says, "Yes, I am." And because what he said is the Supreme Court made the decision, let them build an army to stop me. And he just did it anyway. And we didn't impeach him for it. So, if we couldn't get rid of Andrew Jackson, wasn't impeached. Andrew Johnson was impeached, and we didn't get rid of him. No one's getting convicted. It's just not going to happen. And real quick, before we close up here, I wanted to comment on this. Kyle said there was a quote about the lesser of two evils that went something like, "They only care about evil so far as it's useful in cutting out opposition." I just wanted to reference that because the lesser of two evil quotes kind of bugs me in a lot of way, because in an election, every election is a choice of the lesser of two evils. Like unless there is a perfect person that exists somehow, it's going to be lesser of two evils no matter what. So I get what people are trying to say, but we're human beings. That's how it goes. So, all right, we ready to wrap this up, fellas?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you remember how this goes. John, I'll pitch it to you and you plug your content and we'll move on.
All right, guys, you made it to the end of this episode. This has been a wonderful, I don't even know what you just watched because we talked about so many topics today, but I hope you had a good time. If you did, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. And if you liked our guest, the wonderful Destructo Hugo, like we had multiple comments saying today, Destructo, where can people find you?
Yeah, man. Thanks once again for having me on. I had literally messaged. I don't know if TJ told you, but I was like, I haven't argued. I haven't just ranted about politics in a while, bro. Let me get on the fucking podcast. What am I doing? I fucking love it here. And so if you wanna, this is really because I've tailored my content now to be more sort of like cinema focused. So this is one of the places where I get to just like speak unabashedly about politics. But if you would like to see my left wing centered takes on art, cinema, TV, pop culture, and things of that nature, then you can find me on TikTok at Destructojugo. You can also find some of my more longer form videos on YouTube at Destructojugo, and you can find me as well on Instagram, in the same name.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ate. We appreciate you coming on the show. Folks, we appreciate you watching us. This show does not suck, but if you watch one of our segments, you'll find out about an associate of Trump who absolutely does. So we'll catch you guys next time. See you around. Thanks for joining.